Hi everyone, welcome to Rachel Pichler Yoga. If we haven't met before, my name is Rachel. Today we're doing a nice lower body flexibility practice. So find just a little bit of space to move and let's get started. So let's begin today in butterfly. So you can bring the soles of your feet together and your knees out nice and wide. Taking a nice big inhale as you lengthen through your spine, and with the exhale, you might start to tip forwards. Maybe wiggle your toes. Start to feel the love through the hips. And you can let the chest fall forwards as much as feels good. Or maybe you'd rather just sit nice and tall. But just take a moment here and close your eyes. Take a deep breath in and out. And another big breath in and out. One more deep inhale. And let it go. Just taking these first few moments of class today to slow down. Let go of your day. Whatever you have to do later. And if you happen to be tipping forwards, start to use an inhale and lift the upper body back up. We're going to keep our right leg bent, but send the left leg out long for a half straddle. And you can adjust your right leg so that you feel comfortable and balanced. Start to point your toes up towards the ceiling though, and we're going to find that nice inner leg stretch. So you can bring your fingertips to the floor in front of you, maybe even behind you, and start to add a tip forwards if it feels good to do so. Maybe even a gentle rock side to side. Just pointing your toes up towards the ceiling or the sky if you happen to be outside, if you're lucky enough to be outside. It's going to deepen that inner leg stretch a little bit for you. And you can drop your chest as low as you want to go. Awesome work, you guys. Using an inhale, slowly start to lift your upper body back up if you're folding forwards. We're just going to take our left leg and stack it on top of the right one now. Fire log, double pigeon, whatever you want to call it. We're trying to stack the top foot on top of the bottom knee and then the top knee on top of the bottom foot. So trying to stack your lower legs on top of one another. You might be leaning back and creating some space between that top knee and the bottom foot. Flex your feet. Point your toes forwards. Your knees will thank you. Take an inhale. And if you want to tip forwards, if you have the space to move here, to tip forwards and drop your top knee towards the bottom foot, you can add as much of a forward fold as feels good. But I do suggest keeping the feet flexed and the toes pointing forwards. Awesome, you guys. Take an inhale, slowly start to lift back up if you're folding forwards. You can uncross your legs, give yourself a little shake, a little hug, and then we're going to sit up our straddle going the other way. So you can bring your right leg out long, bend the left leg, start to point your toes up towards the ceiling. Maybe you can already feel that inner leg stretch, but as you inhale, sit a little taller. And with the exhale, you could play with the forward folds. Maybe a little rock of the shoulders. Just breathe. Find that nice inner leg stretch. Awesome work, you guys. Taking an inhale, slowly start to lift on up. We're going to find that double pigeon or that fire log pose. Bring your right leg on top of the left. Try and stack those lower legs on top of one another. Try to point your toes forwards. Take an inhale to lengthen through your spine. Maybe you stay just like this, sitting tall. As you exhale, maybe a forward fold is an option for you today. Awesome job, you guys. Let's take an inhale and slowly start to lift all the way back up. You can uncross your legs, give yourself a little rock, a little hug. And we're going to make our way onto our knees. So you can bring your knees together, your feet together. We're just going to sit back towards the heels. And you might stay sitting on your heels and your knees on the floor, or you might start to lean back. Lean back and try to lift your knees. Maybe one knee lifts at a time. Maybe you can lift both. I want you to start to feel your ankles, the top of your feet, maybe even into the shins. So the higher you lift your knees, the more you're going to feel this. If you're able to balance, you might bring your hands to your lap. And we're not going to be here very long. So just take another breath or two. And then slowly start to bring the knees down. If you did lift them, come forwards onto your hands. Give your ankles a nice little shake. You can tuck your toes under now, stretching the bottom of the feet and those toes, a little toe squat. You might keep some weight in your hands. This can be quite intense. Or maybe you can sit back on your heels and again, rest your hands in your lap and soften your shoulders. And depending how you spend the majority of your time or what kind of shoes you wear or don't wear, you might feel this a lot or not at all. Awesome, you guys. One more breath here. And then slowly bring your hands down if they aren't already. And shake out the toes, shake out the ankles. Awesome job, you guys. All right. Let's bring our right leg forwards and send our left leg back and set up for pigeon. So you can adjust your front leg. Your heel can come as close to your left hip as you would like so that you feel centered. You're not tipping over to one side. Nice, you guys. Take an inhale, lifting through the chest. You can stay lifted or you can add a tip forwards. And let your upper body get heavier. Feeling this through that outer right glute and hip. Kind of a similar feeling as that fire logger double pigeon. Awesome, you guys. Take an inhale. Start to lift up if you're folding forwards. We're just going to bring the left leg forwards and send the right leg behind us. We're switching sides as gracefully as you can switch sides. Bringing your left leg forwards. Wiggle around a little bit. Adjust the front leg. And once you feel centered, take an inhale to lift up and maybe an exhale to fold. Awesome, you guys. Let's use an inhale. Slowly start to lift up. You can plant your hands. You can either roll to the side, but we're gonna end up in tabletop on our hands and knees. So however you would like to get there. And then maybe your hips need a little rock side to side. Shake out the pigeon. That nice hip stretch. So something a little different. I want to bring some energy into our practice today. So I want you to spread your fingers wide. Start to tuck your toes under. We're going to find downward facing dog. Take a nice big inhale and use the exhale to lift up. So from here, you guys, I don't want you to think too much about your hands, your shoulders, but I want you to think about your heels and your feet. So bring them about hip width apart, your feet, and turn your heels out a little bit just so that they're hiding behind your toes. And then I want you to lift your heels as high as you can and then try to drop them towards your mat and maybe even lift your toes up. And then lift the heels again and then drop them. Maybe lift the toes up. Trying to stretch the back of those calves and those ankles. And you can keep lifting the heels and lowering them. or maybe you're just going to take one long hold, pushing those heels down, maybe lifting the toes, or maybe that isn't available to you, but just trying to stretch those calves a little bit. Nice job, you guys. And because downward facing dog is actually for your upper body, we're just going to take one more inhale and then use the exhale to bring your knees back down onto your mat. Awesome, you guys. Shake out those ankles. Maybe even sit back on your heels and take a little wrist circle with one wrist and then the other wrist. Awesome, you guys. All right, let's lay down on our backs. So come on down, walk your feet towards your hips, and then we're going to curl our toes. I want to do one more stretch for our feet. So you can either lift your feet up and just curl your toes, trying to touch your toes to the ball of your feet, or you can use the floor. If you're able to use the floor to help keep your toes just curled for a few breaths, you can do one foot at a time, or you can do both. It's pretty intense, a really awesome foot stretch that if you have been practicing with me for a little bit of time, I go through phases where I do this all the time. I'm in that phase right now. If you're doing one foot, you guys switch sides, switch sides. If you're doing both, stay, breathe through it, relax. Nicely done, you guys. Let's let that go. Plant your feet, maybe even give your toes a bit of a shake or tap them on your mat. You can start to pull your knees in towards your chest. Maybe keep shaking out the ankles, the feet a little bit if you need to. You might start to bring your knees out wide. Option here to keep the big toes together. Knees out wide, reclined child's pose, just giving those knees a bit of a hug. Getting into those hips again, or you could actually lift the feet, find an actual full happy baby. Knees out wide, low back, send it into the mat, into the ground. Awesome, you guys. Letting those feet come back down. If you're in happy baby, you can bring your knees back together as well. Maybe a couple rocks side to side, just massaging your low back a little bit. Awesome job, you guys. You can either stay laying on your back if you want to spend a few moments in Shavasana. That is all I have planned for you today. But if you want to find a comfy seat, maybe a long spine, you could also bring your hands together in front of your heart. Thank you so much for joining me today. Until next time, namaste.